Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And Disney is hiding.
Yeah, something weird's going down here.
Something very weird is going down. We noticed this morning there were some people talking about on Twitter that Disney had an investor day scheduled for October 7th. Now that is different, I believe, from their quarterly earnings call.
It was. They said during the last quarterly earnings call, Chapek said that they were going to do an investor day because they usually do and they hadn't done it, and it was going to be, they would announce it at a later date. They were going to focus mostly on their whatever that star was, that was kind of like their Hulu for overseas.
Was that the India?
Yeah, they were going to talk about that a lot, but they said there was an investor day coming. So about September 15th or so, everybody was all excited because it showed up on that, what was it, live? What was it called?
Whatever their live streaming software is, that it was going to be October 7th.
It was going to be October 7th at 9 a.m. Eastern. And it's been out there, that was how it was going to be for weeks. And then today, everybody's like, what's going on? Because it got pulled down.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. They did make an announcement today after it got pulled down that they are going to do their quarterly earnings call November 12th. But the investor day disappeared.
Yeah, here I have it put up. Here's what it showed before. And it was live storm. That's what it was. Here's what the screen said before. Okay. This is what it says today. It doesn't exist or been deleted. Now, it's not on the investor relations, events, and presentations page either.
No.
And according to the one place you had, Murphy's Multiverse, they were told it was an error. I'm like, you guys left it up for weeks. How was that an error? Everybody was covering it. It wasn't like you didn't know people were covering it. It was all over the place. If it was an error.
It's not an error. I'll tell you exactly. This is my opinion. It's not an error. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. What happened was they were going to do the investor day, and then they had to lay a bunch of people off.
Right.
And they wanted to buy time to come up with some kind of positive spin.
What the spin, yes.
That's what happened. And Jeremy Conrad also, this is how I found out about it, actually. He put it out on Twitter that it's just not happening. So yeah, they said, update, according to the report from the direct Livestorm representative has indicated the date seen below was given an error and was deleted.
Weeks after the fact, 2 weeks later.
Yep. Furthermore, they have indicated that there is no upcoming investor day scheduled to their knowledge.
Even though they announced it during the way it seemed like it would be happening before the next investor meeting.
Yes.
It would be soon, which would imply before the next investor call.
Yes.
Or at least this year.
And they do an investor day as kind of a separate rah-rah thing. And yeah, it was not a mistake. Disney pulled it down because they're hiding from the investors. Personal opinion, as an investor, they're hiding. They don't want to have to explain why they had to lay off 28,000 employees. They don't want to have to explain why Mulan did not perform.
And why they're releasing it on video on demand to other places now after we spent the money someplace we have to keep subscribing to watch it. Yeah. A lot of people weren't happy about that either. So there's a lot of questions. And they were supposed to be talking, this meeting was actually supposed to be about their overseas star. And I'm wondering if something went down with that. And that's why they're waiting there too. So they can't get away without having the investor call.
Yeah.
So that they have to do. So it looks like they're doing that one to give themselves a little bit more time to create their story, their spin.
That's what I think is going on, because Disney, look, we've worked in and around them enough to know that they're always looking for that spoonful of sugar to help the shit go down, and they're in the shit right now. Their stock is dropping a little bit. It's not catastrophic, but what is catastrophic is the bad press they're getting from the layoffs, because it keeps coming up again and again and again that you had to reinstate the executives' full pay. But you laid off 28,000 employees.
And you know what? Here's my thing. They keep saying about Disneyland. Okay, Disneyland is important, and I'm sure it brings a lot of money. I'm sure that's true. But Disneyland is the only park that's not open. The other ones are all open. So what is your excuse if Disney, the ones they own all or partially overseas are open? So Disneyland isn't going to be enough. It's going to cause a hit, but it's more of a locals park. It's not like Walt Disney World, which is like, many parks in one.
Right.
So even though it's going to cause a hit, it's not going to cause a hit to the fact that you can blame everything on Disneyland.
Well, that's the thing too, and it's coming out now that a lot of those layoffs, more of those layoffs than what was originally reported, are in Disney World. that like a quarter of the 28,000 at least are in Disney World. So,
well, I figured most would be Disneyland.
Yeah, well, obviously Disneyland, but there are a lot in World. There are going to be some coming to Imagineering.
Yeah, Imagineering had lost 400 in some positions, I think.
Well, when you don't have money to build new rides, you can't really keep these people on.
That's okay. I'm sure Universal or somebody else will scoop them up like last time.
That's what happened last time, guys. Islands of Adventure was actually built by ex-Disney Imagineers. So they got laid off in the late 90s or the 90s, and then they turned around and they helped Universal with that. And then later on, they helped Universal with Harry Potter. And now they're kind of competing head-to-head with Disney. So I'm sure Epic Universe would love to have Disney Imagineers, in their corner. But this is, I can't stress how bad the situation is, and I feel horrible for the cast members.
I do too. And even the ones that get to stay, people brought the fact that there's how much guilt there. You got to stay and your friends got gone, and and I know at Universal they were doing everything they could to keep everyone. They were taking pay cuts and all that. People still got laid off, so I'm sure there's a lot of guilt there. The ones that are left that are union people were getting raises, but it's just a tough situation the whole way around for a lot of people. And we covered a couple weeks ago about the food pantry. If you want to donate to that, you can find information about that on piratesandprincesses.net. But it's just not a good thing, and the economy isn't great in Orlando. So it's not like they can just jump ship someplace else. It's all based on tourism.
That is what this article is about. That I wanted to talk about this.
I didn't even read this article. You sent it to me, but I never got a chance to look at it.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty good article. It's an opinion piece from the Orlando Sentinel, basically talking about how Orlando, they call it a one-ticket town. It's basically a one-horse town, where everything is based on travel and tourism, and when that dries up, it's catastrophic for the entire area.
Are you gonna get in trouble if you read this and don't credit the person?
Well, this isn't that.
There is one person on here, some chick. I'm not gonna name names, just that it's a woman, and she writes Disney articles. Well, I cited the Orlando Sentinel and cited her. Yes, and cited her article and quoted some of her quotes, but I rewrote and added a bunch of things to it that weren't in her original article, and then she got mad and tried to say I plagiarized her article, which I did not.
It was like one paragraph, or not even a paragraph.
I quoted.
Yeah, but that's standard.
And it was so funny because I even sent it over to Kneon because he's an editor, and I'm like, would you count this? And he's like, no. So I just thought it was funny. Yeah. But that's not this person, though.
No, you're allowed to pull. Well, basically, they're freaking out, too, because the tourism industry bankrolls the newspapers and the media down there, too.
Right.
Because that's where their advertising.
Well, they already lost their offices because, they weren't selling enough papers, apparently, or something. Anyway.
Yeah, so they're talking about, you said about jumping ship, and this article talks about how, look at these people laid off from other resorts. 1,900 at Rosen Resorts,
right.
1,900 at Marriott, SeaWorld, Gaylord Palms, a Hyatt, 1,200 airport.
I was going to say the airport's getting hit hard. The cruise industry, which isn't very far away in Canaveral, is being hit very hard.
Yeah.
It's not like you can just jump, a lot of times if your company folds, you could just jump ship to someplace else. But what happens when all the companies are kind of servicing the same industry and the industry itself is going under? Then what do you do? Well,
that's why I actually like this article quite a bit, because we've talked about this before. We've talked about here we're in Western Pennsylvania, and we look at a lot of the towns around here that were basically built on the backs of manufacturing, and only manufacturing, and only coal, or only whatever. And then when the world moved on, there were people and towns left behind. And the point they're trying to make in this article is that when Disney's down, when tourism is down, there's no fallback. And this has happened before with Orlando. Obviously not to this extent, but I love this quote here. If a storm demolishes a structurally weak house, only a fool would rebuild it with the same weaknesses. And they're basically like, other communities focus on diversifying their economies by recruiting and growing medical, technology, or manufacturing jobs. Central Florida remains pathologically obsessed with expanding tourism, dumping billions of tax dollars into tourism marketing and constantly expanding a convention center that's already 7 million square feet. We have to stop feeding the low-wage beast. And they talk about how, because of this, basically the economy of Orlando being centered on lower-paying service jobs in the tourism industry, that even other professionals are being paid less. Like they talk about how nurses get paid less down there and other professionals.
We see that around here because where we're at, it's a lower income area.
Yeah.
So jobs that would pay a lot more, like educators or nurses or doctors, whatever, they probably do take quite a hit. A lot of them leave after a while because they want to go someplace that pays more due to where it's located and what's going on around it. But yeah, like, why would you go back to doing the same thing again? And Disney's down, and Disney brings in, like we were talking about our friend Gina. She was like, well, we don't hate Disney at Universal. We love Disney. And we don't want anything bad to happen to Disney because, we bring people in that go to Disney, and they bring people in that come to our parks. And our outlook isn't, where it's either us or them. It helps everyone. And, when Disney's down, it's going to hurt all the industries that are built up around it. Like there's grocery deliveries, and there's stroller rentals and wheelchair rentals. So much of Orlando is piggybacked on flipping Disney.
And that's what, they talk about half the jobs are only paying $34,000
right.
less.
So Disney can keep more money.
Right, and that's it. I mean, it's basically
They don't charge you less.
No, they don't. Yeah, they don't charge our guests less. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a domino effect because Disney had this catastrophic loss. We're going to see a lot of other hotels go out. We're going to see
construction companies are going to take a hit that work for Disney.
Right, construction companies, any service industries that serve tourism because tourism's drying up. Now they're talking the UK. They're talking about another shutdown in the UK. UK tourism is a big boon for Orlando, and it's going to affect everybody, restaurants, whatever. So what could potentially happen? Again, I'm talking. This is way more catastrophic than just Disney losing money. What could potentially happen is Orlando, to survive, has to step over Mickey.
Pretty much. And they don't want to do that because they don't want to make Disney mad. And Disney doesn't want them to step over them. But at this point in time, I don't think Disney can fight you. Disney's trying to keep their lights on, and no matter what they try to tell you, they're trying to stay afloat, just like everybody else. And you know what? It's not all Disney's fault because no one could have seen this happen, but it is a lot of Disney's fault because they've continued to dictate, to gouge, to underpay, to overspend, and they weren't prepared in case something happened because they always just thought it was going to be flowing like water, the money.
Now, what's interesting is the Orlando Sentinel actually points to Pittsburgh as a city that's done it right.
And they have.
And I got to tell you.
Yay, Pittsburgh!
Go Pittsburgh. I got to tell you, Pittsburgh has turned around. When I was a kid, Pittsburgh was basically kind of like the Detroit of Pennsylvania.
It was pretty dirty. I mean, when I was a kid, we used to go through there. My dad worked in Pittsburgh for years. It was pretty dirty. I love Pittsburgh. It's done so much. It's so big on art and there's technology, huge tech hub. I would also say that they do a lot of filming there. I mean, if they're looking for an alternative to Hollywood, Pittsburgh is a very good one, except I'm afraid they'll ruin Pittsburgh like they ruined Hollywood. So don't do that.
We'll get all the kooky political activists coming into Pittsburgh. But no,
there already are some.
There's some, but it's not as bad as other places. But yeah, Pittsburgh has turned around. It was all manufacturing. Then the manufacturing dried up. They had all these empty warehouses, and they came in. They started bringing tech companies in. Yeah,
I love what they say here. They shared stories of communities that decided to change their economic trajectory. Places that invested in higher education, entrepreneurship. They have whole programs for starting your businesses and stuff.
Yeah.
Research, manufacturing, and more. Education is always key, and I would agree with that around here. I mean, even where we live, which is outside of Pittsburgh, it's hit from the manufacturing, but unlike other places, we actually are doing pretty well here. The town itself is doing pretty good, and they focus on. We have the groups that are starting up that are focused on entrepreneurship and how to bring jobs in and what you can do outside of manufacturing, what you can do outside of things that are taking a hit.
Yeah, and Orlando is going to, and so what's going to happen is if Orlando becomes basically if it's run down economically, then that makes it even less likely that people want to visit Orlando because they're like, oh, Orlando's kind of
Well, Disney doesn't want that to happen because they want to be the center of attention of all. They want to be the big fish in the big pond. And they're not going to like it if they're not getting all the incentives they want so that other industries can come in, even though in the end it'll benefit everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad. They're talking about how it's not even a political thing because they said the last race for county mayor, none of the three candidates, a Democrat and two Republicans, pushed to spend the hotel taxes on things that might diversify the community. And, they talk about all the cast members, the low-wage workers who put on happy faces for their hospitality jobs. You think about that, like when we go to Disney and stuff, the vast majority of people working in the Disney parks can't even afford to go to the Disney parks themselves.
Well, what gets me is there are so many of the cast members out there that just genuinely love working there.
Yeah.
They genuinely, this would be Universal, Walt Disney World, whatever, Disneyland. They genuinely love doing it. They genuinely love making people's day. It's very important to them that people have fun, and they're just very good people who want to do the best job they can. And they are not treated as well as they should be. And now it's going to probably be worse. I mean, Josh D'Amaro gave me so much hope for Walt Disney World because he wanted to implement some things that would help cast members immensely. And, Disney does the college programs and stuff. At the end of the day, they don't want to lose their people they can pay low wages for to better jobs.
Yeah.
But, the cast members, there are some that just don't like life. But most of them, I think, are just amazing people. I would not have the patience for it. I could not do what they do.
I'd be horrible.
I could not do what they do. And they do. They are likely falling apart, and they go to the parks and trying to make your life happier. And it's, people are so mean to cast members too, which pisses me off. But, I couldn't imagine. I can't imagine.
Well, I think it's the clientele because Disney, they kind of squeezed out the middle class chasing the 1%ers. Mm-hmm. So I think you get a bunch of Karens coming into the park, who are treating the cast members who make things go like they're their personal servants.
Or you get the people that are like, how much I spent on this trip? I've seen so many.
We've heard that so many times, literally from people.
Marty middle management who goes in there and acts like, I'm a big shot. I'm staying at the moderate.
Dollar double chin.
Dollar double chin, yeah.
As Squid Kings, we stayed the one time.
Passel hookers.
Yeah, it was this rather heavy set, sweaty, middle-aged guy who you could tell the way he carried himself. He was like some middle manager.
He thought that he was so important.
He thought he was all that, and he had his wife and daughters, and it kind of reminded me of Danny DeVito in that one Christmas movie.
Kind of, yes. And what was it called? Oh, I can't remember. But yeah, know what I mean. The one with the lights, and he had the pretty wife and Deck the Halls, and the pretty daughters. Except these daughters were little biatches. And what happened was we were at the bus stop. We were waiting for the bus. And then they were going to try to jump line in front of us on the bus. And all I said to them was, even after they pushed in front of me, all I said was, you can't go on the bus. They tried to go right on. I said, you can't go on the bus until after you let people off. You have to wait for the bus driver to say you can go on. And he actually was trying to tell them not to come on. People need to get on the bus. And then I'm quoting her, and she looks at her mother and she goes, did you see what that bitch said to me? And I was like, oh, hell no. So you can imagine how well that went over. To which Squid King then referred to them as dollar double chin and his passel of hookers. And they were dressed like total tramps. These daughters were.
They had like shorty shorts on and daddy's
they were really dressed, like their cheeks were hanging out kind of dressed. Am I wrong? They were like very cheeky. I was surprised they'd be allowed in with the outfits they had. And she's like, you see what that bitch said to me? I'm like, well, it's not my fault you're rude and don't know how the bus etiquette works.
You need to get.
You're at a moderate. It's not like you're at a deluxe, sweet cheeks. You know.
You need to get a shirt that says "Yes, I'm that bitch" with an arrow that points up.
Yeah, I should. Actually.
I'm that bitch. Anyway, this is going to be bad. This is going to have a long-term effect, and we're going to do another video later on talking about Hollywood because this is going to dovetail with that. Just even if the pandemic ended tomorrow, the damage done by the shutdown it's going to take years to see the total effect. Now, this reminds me of when I got laid off during the recession. The damage was done to our business in 2008, 2009. I didn't get laid off until 2010 because it was such a long tail. And that's what's going to happen here. Like Disney's laying a bunch of people off now, but it won't be until the next couple of quarters.
They're saying it's 2023 that they think it's going to bounce back.
And even then, it may not come back as strong as it did before.
And the thing is, Orlando can't diversify right now because they put all their eggs into the one basket, which is gone. Mm-hmm. All those eggs are smashed, so they don't have any more eggs to have the money and the leverage to spread out right now. That's the problem. They can't even do anything else to fix it anytime soon because they have to build those eggs back up and then they can diversify. And
that's the problem with Disney as a company is that they depended on billion-dollar box offices and pay pigs at the theme parks. And they never thought it was going to end. They thought it was going to go that way forever.
And they could just nickel and dime everyone till infinity and laugh on their high horse. We weren't joking when they say it's open your wallet with a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah,
because they kept adding parking fees, adding all kinds of fees they never had for ever, just to try to up things. So and get more money, and that's when they didn't need it.
Right.
It's just, it's just dumb.
Yeah, it was all more, and it's all about reporting to the investors. Look how much money we made. So the fact that they're cutting out on the investor meeting.
Yeah, and it might turn out that there's more information out there that comes up eventually. So far, only people mentioning it that I've seen is Murphy's Multiverse on the people on Twitter and us.
Yeah.
And they might come out, there's more information given, but as of right now, there really isn't. And instead of just stepping over that and talking about their investors meeting for 2020, because that was the end of September was the end of their fiscal year. So they're all focused on that now. I don't know what's going to happen, but...
Yeah, it's a sleight of hand, guys. Don't look at the... And they're going to have them, I guarantee about when they have that quarterly, it's going to be like, guys... Disney's doing so good. We've got so many people in the parks right now. It's just, we're going to be making money. We're going to be back in business. But this time next year, you're not even going to know there was a pandemic.
Yeah, no, it's going to take a while. Even all the analysts are saying so. They're saying next year's probably a loss too. They probably won't see any kind of recovery to 2022, and they won't probably back up at all to 2023.
So I want to bring this up too. This is coming from WDW Pro on Pirates and Princesses.
I still love that photo.
.net. Yeah, this says everything right here.
Yeah, I mean, this is right after they switched to CEO, and for someone who Iger supposedly just wanted to go, and he was all about it. He looks like someone kicked his puppy, and Chapek looks like he's like, holy shit, now what do I do? I mean, it's the best picture. It sums up everything.
This is a dad taking his kid to drive with a learner's permit. Like, oh God. He's like, what do I do?
Yeah, that sums it up. That photo is like the best photo.
Oh, shit. So did Bob Iger leave the recovery task force on his own, or Chapek
Okay.
pull the plug?
So there was a task force. It was a recovery task force with Governor Newsom for California, and they announced that Iger left the task force. That was a recent announcement. Now this is new. I haven't heard this one yet.
Yeah. So the reason, is did Bob Iger leave because he was mad at Newsom, or did Chapek pull out on this? And according to Pro, he said partially one has to wonder how much of his leaving was his own choice. And look, Chapek's been. Iger's been sort of MIA too.
Right. But he's not CEO anymore. He's just chairman of the board. How often do you see chairman of the board being out in the public as much as he was until recently?
Yeah, I think they told him, it's like, you need to step back, Bob.
And let Chapek do his job.
Let the other Bob.
It's the Bobs. What about Bobs?
What about Bobs? So I talked about how Iger's not been on a roll as of late. There seems to have been a major part of the inclusion push that Disney is on the hook to pay large sums of money for the Splash Mountain redos, while at the same time Tokyo refuses to change it. Well,
and they don't have to.
They don't have to. It means Disney pays a ton of cash they desperately need. Well, that's it. At the same time, not getting rid of Song of the South in their parks. So they could be taking that money, because the re-themes are not cheap either. They could be taking that money and putting it toward a brand new attraction, but now they got to go back and change Splash Mountain, which costs probably almost as much as a new ride.
I'm seeing a theme to all these things. When I'm not going to say what the theme is. I'm sure you can read into what you will. Then they're talking about the NBA, and they had a deal. It was Iger who had the deal for them coming to Disney World, and they said there were some benefits to that. But the NBA is in the midst of unmitigated disaster, with NBA ratings plunging more than 60% year to year. With bad ratings, and maybe possibly some things that choices were made this year might have led to some of the ratings going down further. Read into that what you will.
Possibly, maybe. That is something that a lot of people have been talking about. So now, more importantly, Disney is asking California not to release guidance on theme park reopening until after Disney has offered additional
They
input.
didn't like the guidance that they were going to give. So it wasn't just them, though. To be fair, it was all the parks.
Yeah, I think it was like, well, what's the point of even opening? Because they have to look at it that way too. Like, we're gonna bring people back. We're gonna pay people. And we're going to spend all the money on the electricity and the whatever. And are we going to make our money back? Or are they going to be like, well, you can only have 20% capacity. You can't do this, and this, which means, well, you might have to shut down these restaurants. You might not be able to open up these rides.
Well, that's what they've been doing at Florida for the longest time. They're starting to now reopen things. But for the longest time, a lot of table services were closed. Buffets were closed. Some of them still are. There's some attractions that haven't reopened like they should yet. I mean, that's, that would be expected.
Yeah. I mean, at Florida, though, I will go on record saying in the last couple of weeks, like, they've just opened.
Oh my God. I see
gates.
pictures this past weekend. It was insane. People were commenting on the annual pass board, which amazingly enough, every time this happens, the comments get shut down right away.
Oh yeah. Disney magic.
But they were talking about the fact that they were there and it was as bad a crowds as it was this time last year, which is what we've been telling you. It's like since they pulled restrictions, they're just shoving in as many people as they can because they're trying to make up the deficit from Disneyland. And, believe in the virus or not, I don't care what you believe. The fact is that there were guidelines in place for a reason, and Disney, they're gonna get as much money out of it as they can. That's just the way it's gonna be.
So it's gonna be, again, these are questions that investors would have. Why did you quit? Why did you quit the board? What's going on with Disneyland? Why'd you lay off 28,000 people? How come so many of them are from Disney World if Disney World is fine? What's up with Mulan? What's up with... And rather than deal with it, it just, again, seems like it's a case they just said, no.
Push it back to next month so we have more time to figure out what to say and how to spin it and how to massage the numbers. So
yeah, we'll do an investor day after we rip the Band-Aid off maybe and tell people how bad.
So at that point it's gonna be next year because he said it would be this year.
This
and
yep.
It would make sense to do it before the next earnings call. Why else would you mention it in the last earnings call? So anyway, that it is what it is. I don't know where Investor Day went. It was supposed to be in 2 days. It's gone. Don't see any mention of it on their investor page or anything. So I'm assuming it's completely bye-bye.
Yep. Under the rug it goes. Down the memory hole.
Where most things go.
All right. So we're going to wrap this one up?
Yep.
Okay. So please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. And we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.